to Liberty's Cage, where we smash the chains of a corrupt justice system that punishes patriots, hides the truth, and spits on our Constitution. Born from the fire of January 6th, when Americans stood bold and faced persecution, we're here to expose the lies, amplify the silence, and demand justice that honors our nation's core. I'm Sarah Maccabee, joined by my co-host Shane Jenkins. Shane, how are you?
I'm doing well. Happy to be here and happy to have our guests with us. How are you doing, Sarah?
Good. Well, we're thrilled to welcome Joe Biggs, an Army veteran and journalist whose courage and service shines as a beacon for all patriots. A staff sergeant with 2 combat tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, Joe earned a Purple Heart and 8 commendations for his bravery under fire. After his military service, he became a bold voice for truth, working as a journalist and a producer, championing conservative values and exposing corruption. Sentenced to 17 years for January 6th, but was commuted only after 4 by President Trump in January of 2025. His unbreakable spirit inspires us all. Welcome to the show, Joe.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. It's always good to, get out here and talk about stuff. So, a little bit here and there helps everybody out.
Yeah, for sure. So take us back. Tell us your story prior. Who were you prior to January 6th?
Well, that's a pretty hard question. I was born in Charlotte, North Carolina. My father was a Marine. My mother was a teacher at University of South Carolina, and then she became one of the presidents up at Clemson University. So I grew up on Marine Corps bases and college campuses. I was exposed to, education at a higher level at a very young age. I was learning how to use, do web design, graphics design, things like that when I was, 10, 11 years old. I'm pretty good with, editing and all that stuff. Fast forward, I moved back down. We moved to Florida. I started going to college down there. 9/11 happened. I joined the military, and I go to Iraq about 6 months later. And from there, I, kick ass and have fun and destroy fucking insurgents and infidels and things like that. We do convoys. We drove all over Iraq, get them blown up, shot at, shooting them back, looking for IED makers and things like that. I actually did 2 tours in Iraq and 2 tours in Afghanistan. So each time, I spent a lot of time doing patrols, looking for what you call high-value targets, IED makers, IED making facilities, and then doing what's called tactical site exploitation, and getting intel for OGA, which is other government agencies like the CIA and things like that, special operations, and, going after some of the big guys. So I did that for a long time. I got injured quite a few times, and eventually was medically retired. And right when I got out, it was February 14th that I got out, 2013. I was shortly thereafter started working at InfoWars as a journalist. And Alex Jones had seen me on TV talking about one of my friends, Michael Hastings, who got killed. I was on with Megyn Kelly, and he called me on to be on the show, and that's kind of where that all led to. And during my time at InfoWars, I met the Proud Boys when they first were created, and around 2017, I became the chapter president in Austin, Texas. Then the Charlottesville thing happened. Then the very next week was an event that I was supposed to speak at. Gavin McInnes, that created the Proud Boys, didn't want me to go, and I don't like being told what to do, so I quit the Proud Boys that time, and I was like, man, screw this crap. And then I went anyways. I moved back down to Florida. My mom gets cancer. I leave InfoWars, and then I joined the Proud Boys again at the chapter that I'm in now. I've been here since 2018, and I've found a really good group of guys, and we gel really good together and get along. So I've been with them for a long time, and and in that time I helped plan and organize a lot of national Proud Boy events all over the country, and that led to January 6th, where we all know what happened there.
So you left out, I know you probably don't want to talk about this because it's kind of personal, but about the Purple Heart and all that. You were wounded in combat, and then do you want to talk about that or not really? Or
Yeah, so I got 2 of them. So one of the times I was driving over what's called the Samara Bypass. I was coming out of the city of Tikrit, heading south towards Balad to Camp Anaconda. We're on a convoy. I'm driving over this bridge, And I remember saying, "Oh my God, that looks like a," and then boom, it was a satchel charge. And by the time I saw it, it was too late. The vehicle's thrown 13 to 15 feet up in the air. All four tires were blown off. And when it came down, it hit the V hole, spun sideways like that, canted, went sideways and started flipping. And shrapnel went through. I got some in the back of my head, or I got TBI through my foot. My knee was ripped out completely. I destroyed all the ligaments in my knee because my foot got stuck under the gas pedal. So as the vehicle's flipping, my body was just bouncing around like you're ricocheting all over the place. And it was the most extreme violence you could ever imagine happening just so fast. And my gunner's face was caved in. He was bleeding out of his eyes. And so the vehicle finally stops. It's teetering on the edge of the bridge and about to fall in. And the Humvee comes in behind us. They're able to hold it down with the ASV and get a winch on it to keep it from tipping over, because we would have drowned and died. We would have gone into the Tigris River. And they were able to get us out of the vehicle. It was on fire. Another convoy comes from a special forces unit called Brassfield Mora. They threw me in the back of their Humvee, and they're taking me to the hospital, rushing me to Camp Anaconda. And as we're coming down the bridge on the other side and making a 90-degree turn to the right, they had placed another IED, and I got blown up again. And then I started taking small arms fire. They started shooting from across the river at me with AK-47s. And I had to get out of the vehicle, and it's on fire, and there's fire everywhere. And then I'm being shot at. And eventually another Humvee came in and stopped and made a wall so they couldn't shoot me from the other side, because the rounds were pinging all over the place. And eventually I got, taken away and to the hospital. So.
Dang, and you did that for America, right?
I mean, to be honest, no. I did it for me and for my friends that were there that day. When you're over there, you're not thinking about, I'm doing this for America. You're like, all right, I've been through hell with all these guys, and I'm here to take care of my family. And, that day I got hurt, and my family was there to take care of me, luckily. So, at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we each get home.
I mean, too, but short-sightedly, yes, absolutely. I get that, fighting for the man next to you. But also, I think at the end of the day, you did do that for me. You did it for everybody in America. And
I joined because of 9/11, so, I was pissed off and I wanted to go shoot some towel heads.
Nothing wrong with that. Well, so that set the predicate, I guess. But what, from there, you joined the Proud Boys. And then when you were doing, Enrique was telling me some interesting stories about your early journalism days. I guess it was pre-InfoWars, and I won't get into detail on that because I don't want to get into you and Enrique's war that's going on. But he said there's probably some interesting videos that I could find, but I'm, again, not getting into that. But
see, if you don't tell me this, because then I'm going to start dropping some really bad shit on him, because whatever he's got is going to be made up, but what I got's real.
We can do this off the air.
We don't have to talk about him in the Laura Loomer video or anything, Oh, wait, did I say that? My bad. Oh, shit.
I wondered if Laura is not Larry Loomer. That's what I was wondering, but I didn't know. You didn't hear that here. But so
so me and Enrique, we like to attack each other on social media and poke fun at each other, and everybody gets a kick out of it. But that was kind of a low blow to do it when I can't see what's going on. So that's all right.
He's got it coming.
Oh, yeah.
So, and you say, January 6th happened, but, and you, again, correct me if I'm wrong, you've only been commuted. You haven't been pardoned by the president. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm one of the 14 people that got screwed over. I mean, good that I'm home, yeah. But still, though, what people don't understand is like, yeah, it's good to be home. But when you're in jail, it's like, all right, my only burden financially is like, monthly commissary, but now it's like more. Now it's like a vehicle, gas, expenses, shit like that. So now it's more of a financial drain on my family while I'm going through this period. And that's another thing that people don't get. The other thing is I lost all my military benefits just at the mere charge of seditious conspiracy. Once that third superseding indictment hit where they added the seditious conspiracy, from that day forward, everything was dropped. They say I owe $41,000 to them right now. But I was personally called by the Secretary of the VA last week, and they said that they would waive that if I get the pardon. And the Secretary of the VA, Doug Collins, said that he would personally take, my case and make sure that my benefits are brought back to the full extent as quickly as possible. So, there's that. But we still are waiting. What is this, 9 months it being back and still no relief from the White House.
Doug Collins, I trust. He seems like a solid man, but I wonder if, in lieu, we've got to get, and that's something that Sarah and I have been talking about, especially like the last week. We want to start advocating for all the people who are unpardoned, who were just commuted, because that's still a stain on. Just like we finally got, military burial for Ashley Babbitt, granted, I guess a week ago, from Pete Hegseth and President Trump. I still think that we're still in this fight. And a lot of, like America typically believes, they're pardoned, everything is good. And it's far from the truth, not to mention like this, people being locked in a cage for solitary confinement for years on end, or, there's trauma that comes along with that emotionally, mentally, and people are, dealing with it in different ways. And it's just not over yet. And unfortunately, there's still a fight that's going on, and I think that's what makes myself, and I believe Sarah, passionate about continuing to get people's stories out, and continuing to fight for people who've been wronged by the weaponization of the government.
For sure.
I shouldn't even.
You said the other day, though, before we go to break, and I want to talk about it at the end too, but what can people do right now? They can pull out their phones and they can email somebody, correct, and advocate for your pardon?
Yeah, so I was told one of the best ways to do it is to email Judge Jeanine Pirro or Attorney General, or AG Pirro at the Department of Justice. You can Google her email there. I think it's janine.pirro@usdoj.gov, and you can find that on the website. Email her and asking her to request President Trump to upgrade my commutation to a pardon. If she were to write something like that, then that can be given to Ed Martin, who will then give that to the pardon czar, which will then give that to President Trump to sign. But I've been told by some insiders that's one of my best ways to get this done. We've submitted all the paperwork a long time ago. Like as soon as I got home, that was all done. And right now we're just waiting on, someone over there to do something. So, I've been in jail for the last 4 years. I used to have tons of connections. I do not have those connections anymore after being in there. Not because, the FBI has my phone with all the numbers, just some people will just stop talking to you after stuff like that. Even if they say that it was a stolen election and was set up, they still just don't want to be seen around you. So I have to use other people to advocate for me, to help me out. So that kind of makes it, a more of a struggle in a sense. I'm used to doing things on my own.
Yeah, for sure. Well, when we get back, we're going to go more into Joe's story when we return on Liberty's Cage.
As of this week, public gay sex will now be mandatory.
Politics. Am I the only one that sees what's me?
Cheekbones, baby.
I'm sorry, maybe I overreacted.
Corporate transfer. Fine professional, moving and storage, and inventory management.
Hey, fellow patriots, it's Cindy Gross here, host of Right for America, from your favorite place, the America First Warehouse. You've seen me show on my show so many products from this country's #1 most patriotic manufacturer with close to 400 products. You need to exchange the products you use in your house to this company and make your dollars count in our country.
Freddie Rubino here at the America First Warehouse. I'm inviting you to the live taping of The Not So Newlywed Show. Just click on the QR code right above my shoulder, and you can get tickets live taping of the Not So Newlywed Show. Drinks, snacks, it's a great time. We'll see you there October 18th.
It's me, Joe the Box, the America First Warehouse, most patriotic venue in all the land.
The America First Warehouse, a beacon for all to see, a symbol of unity. For the patriots of America, we stand tall and free. The America First Warehouse, where our hearts will always be.
Welcome back to Liberty's Cage. I'm your host, Sarah McAbee, joined by my co-host, Shane Jenkins, and our infamous guest, Joe Biggs. Joe, can you take us back to Boston in 2017?
Yeah, so this was around the time that I had just gotten with the Proud Boys. I'm just starting to get ready to leave InfoWars, and Charlottesville happened. Well, we all know how they spun Charlottesville. It ends up being what President Biden, or then whatever the fuck he was. Sorry, can I say that?
Yeah, you're good. Don't worry about it.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I tend to say stuff like that. Yeah, but Biden, whatever he was, then that's what he ran like his campaign on to become president, was the whole Charlottesville thing. So it was this, very kind of like pivotal point in time. Well, the very next weekend was this free speech rally that I was to be, to speak at with a few other people. There was like Shiva Aridari from, Massachusetts for Senate. There was a guy that was related to Martin Luther King Jr. who came out there and gave the I Have a Dream speech. So I go to this event and everyone's saying, don't do it. It's the weekend after Charlottesville. They're going to try to kill you. And I was like, stop. They're not going to try to kill me. They don't care about me. I'm nobody. And then I got there and there's like, 40,000+ people, like all in the streets, and they've surrounded Boston Common, and they're all screaming like, we're gonna kill you, Joe Biggs, and they have signs saying we're gonna kill you. So I'm sitting up there on this famous stage, the Boston Commons, and I'm sitting there giving a speech, and I'm listening to this guy give the I Have a Dream speech, and it gets so bad that the police come running up and they go, look, we got to get out of here. Like you got to go. Like there's only so many of us that, police here, and we're outnumbered like 30-1. So it's time to roll. So they throw me in the back of this paddy wagon, and it's two kid cops, like two kids. Like these guys are like 21 maybe. They've got zero life experience. They might know how to shotgun a beer. That's about it. And they put me in the back of this paddy wagon, and there's no windows. There's no air. It's pitch black, and they're driving into the crowd. And I can hear them. And as we're getting into the crowd, the vehicle's shaking back and forth, and people are banging on it. We're going to kill you. We're going to kill you. And I start having a panic attack. I'm like, and I'm not going to lie, I've been through Iraq and Afghanistan, and I've told you a pretty scary story. That day in Boston was the scariest day of my life, because they were like, we're going to hit you with a Molotov. And that's like a big fear for me, to burn alive. And I just remember sitting there, and the whole truck is rocking, and they're beating on it, screaming. And I'm like, man, all it's going to take are these two kids to get scared. They're going to jump out and say, screw this guy. I'm not going to die for this dude, and just leave me here. And they're just going to burn me alive. So, they finally get us through this crowd, and it takes forever. And I'm sweating balls. I mean, I'm dying. There's no air. And as we're going through, there's like the back of the paddy wagon's got this little crack in it. So I get my cell phone up to it, and I'm trying to see what's going on in the news. And there's a Fox News helicopter flying over, and all I can see is a little tiny dot, which was me, and a sea of people. And the entire city of Boston showed up to like rip my head off. And they get through that crowd, and they start taking off, and they drive as fast as they can to the Gillette warehouse where they build the razors and stuff. And they open the door, and they push me out, and they go, good luck, man, and take off and leave me. And I'm sitting there. I forgot, I was with Kyle Chapman, and me and him, if you don't remember who Kyle Chapman is, it's a guy they call Base Stick Man. He was in those like Berkeley fights with Antifa. You can look him up for anybody who doesn't know. But me and him are sitting there, and we're grabbing like bricks and stuff. And there was a park bench we snapped in half so we can make weapons, because you could hear a sea of people coming screaming, like they're coming after us.
God.
So we start making weapons and we're taking off. We're running, trying to hide. And it took forever. It took hours to get finally picked up by someone. These people were tracking us everywhere. Everywhere you go, someone was looking for us in cars. They had scouts. And we eventually made it to a bar and got drunk and laughed about it. But it was intense, man. It was scary.
God.
It sounds like you were talking about January 6th and not August of 2017, according to the media, at least.
Yeah, that was a more violent day, Boston.
Sound like you were Mike Pence on the run from the January 6th people. Sort of.
Yeah.
God, that is cry. I had no idea that ever happened, man.
Yeah, I've been involved in some really crazy stuff. I've crossed the border. I snuck into Mexico illegally and dressed up like an ISIS jihadi. I put on the whole, umbrella outfit. I had a huge Arabic sword and a severed head. And I came back across the Rio Grande. I crossed the Rio Grande dressed up like this jihadi in front of Border Patrol. But they're at that time, they had a stand down order. And that's what I was doing. I was exposing the fact that the border was so wide open that anybody could come across, and I'm wearing all this black stuff with just my eyes, a slit. I look like, Johnny Jihadi, and I'm like, hello, and screaming that stuff. And, this guy's playing Angry Birds. He's not even looking my way, thank God, because he probably would have killed me. But I'm sitting here with a severed head, and I take the ISIS flag that I built, and I slammed it down into the American side, and I go, I claim this land for Sharia law. And I'm like, and I'm dancing around. Yeah.
Did you get it on film or what?
Yeah, it's on. You can find it on YouTube.
Oh my God! And they let you? Get you through?
No, well, so after that skit, I got scared, so I left and I went to the airport, and I was met by the FBI, who was there waiting to have a discussion with me about my little stunt.
About how it was inappropriate, probably, and not, but they didn't.
Well, I snuck into a country illegally and then back into another country illegally. They had a drone overhead watching. They were taking bets on whether or not I was going to get killed by, cartels on the other side and or the Border Patrol. So it was very interesting, I've never been. I like to do a lot of stupid stunts, to get people's attention, and I've definitely mastered that craft. Yeah.
Well, this is an interesting interview. I never knew a lot of this stuff. That's good. Well, I'm glad you're still with us, dude. I really am, man.
Yeah, I went to Paris the day after the Paris attacks happened. I went on the raid with all the French police looking for all the ISIS attackers. That took us into Saint Denis, kind of like a neighborhood within Paris. I actually snuck past the police lines. All the journalists were sitting there. I do my own thing. I don't care what the cops say. I busted through and I'm crawling through the buildings. The way the buildings are built in Paris are side by side. So there's no big alleyways. So you got to I'm stuck and I'm sliding down this thing. And when I come out of the building where two of the ISIS fighters had walled themselves up. And as the police are going in and kicking in the door, the lady's got a suicide vest on. She blows up, comes out, and her body flies down right in front of me. And then that part of the investigation led me all the way into Molenbeek, Belgium, which is a little neighborhood within Brussels. And we actually found their stronghold where they had trained and planned for that whole attack at the Bataclan Theater and all the different restaurants up and down the street where they killed everybody. That place literally looked like Iraq. There were literal jihadis everywhere that had ISIS flags in the window.
They let you tag along with them, just like, hey, I'm going with you.
Look, there's let me, or there's me being sneaky and I'm following them and keeping a safe distance while also, being an idiot. So yeah, like I said, I do my own thing.
I'm sure that's gotten you into some situations. So you have some pretty famous pictures. If anybody were to look you up on Google, can you tell us about some of those pictures? Like when you guys are walking across the bridge, a whole group of you?
Yeah, so we did an event in Portland, in domestic terrorism event. And it was, I started planning that event the day after the Asian gay journalists. We have to use all these stupid tags on people. Andy Ngo was assaulted by Antifa until he had brain bleed. And it pissed me off. I was like, wow, even a journalist in Portland who's a gay dude, and these people are supposed to be tolerant and like all that crap. They beat this guy half to death. So I called Enrique up and some other people, and we planned this rally. We go there, and you know, it was insane. Like, they spent, you know, and Portland had been getting burnt down and ruined for months ahead of this event. And Mayor Ted Wheeler did nothing about it. The National Guard did nothing about it. But the minute that we announced that we would be there, Mayor Ted Wheeler says, I don't want people like Joe Biggs here. They brought in the National Guard. They spent $2 million on security measures because of us. But, you know, you didn't use those security measures when your own people, your own citizens in Portland, Rose City Antifa, the birth of Antifa in America, when they were burning down cities and assaulting people and raping people and killing people. That didn't seem to be an issue then. It wasn't until a drinking club came that you guys all of a sudden decided to give a shit. So it was crazy. Either way, to go to this part of the event, we have to march across this bridge, and it's never been allowed to be shut down ever in the history of Portland. And they shut it down for us, and we're outsiders, and it pissed off Antifa, and it pissed off the people of Portland. They were so angry, and that's why it became this iconic photo. Is the first time ever that this bridge got shut down. They did it for the Proud Boys, and they let us march across. We had camera crews everywhere. It was the top story on Drudge. President Trump was talking about, man, this is going to be crazy. You know, the Proud Boys and Antifa are going to clash, and the headlines were like bloody battle on the horizon. So they were, amping it up and, trying to stoke the flames, but what we did is we always do is we psyoped them, Jedi mind tricked them, and, turned around and left and went and had a keg party, and they all flipped out and burnt their city down. So, we did it to prove a point, to shine a light on the fact that these people are, insane, and they should be locked up and treated like insane people.
Not only that, you're exposing the politicians in the city for what it is. They want to treat you guys like y'all are the real threat and call out all the security when really they should have been protecting the people all along. Almost.
Well, I mean, every time I land in a different city, I am met with FBI or Department of Homeland Security to ask me why I'm here. They will take me into the back rooms, the interrogation rooms, and try to find out like why I'm here. Why am I coming to cause trouble? And I'm simply just trying to fly somewhere. They're like, why are you coming to Portland? I go, well, I fought for this country, and Portland's in this country, so Portland's my city. You might not like that, but I was willing to die for it. You weren't, so shut the F up.
That's right. Well, we will be back with more from Joe Biggs. I don't know what else we're going to...
This is my house.
This is exciting, dude. I'm Shane Jenkins. This is Liberty's Cage with my co-host, Sarah Maccabee, and our special guest, Joe Biggs. We'll be back in just a minute.
Corrupt judges, broken families, families torn apart. This isn't justice. If you've been wronged by the system, join us. Don't stand alone. Hi, I'm Gary Jacobs, president of Americans for Legal Reform. We're the oldest legal reform group in the United States. The justice system in the United States should be transparent, fair, and open to everybody and accessible. Unfortunately, many times that's not the case. At Americans for Legal Reform, we are here to help. Join the movement. Visit AmericansForLegalReform.com and help reform the system before it fails you.
Hi, my name is Elena Ruseva, aka Megalangela. Please check my art at www.megalangela.vip.
The America First Warehouse Ultra MAGA Store for all your MAGA needs. We sell t-shirts, tumblers, flags, hats, sneakers, bumper stickers, and a whole lot more. The most patriotic America First retail store. The America First Warehouse Ultra MAGA Store.
The Queens Village Republican Club is America's oldest Republican club, founded in 1875. Situated in President Trump's hometown in Queens, New York, we are America First MAGA Republicans, empowering fellow Republicans to get involved in the game of politics at the grassroots level. We host inspiring monthly club meetings on the first Thursday of each month at 8 p.m. For more information, please go to our website at www.qvgop.org.
It's Tuesday here at the America First Warehouse. I am Joe the Box.
And I'm John the Blanket.
Freddie Rubino here with my podcast. That's what I'm talking about. Coming to you live from the most patriotic venue in the land.
Welcome to Right for America.
I'm James Justice. We got Stephen Ruth over here. What are we doing, Steve? Fighting!
Welcome to Tune In Tuesday of the Patriots Podcast, live streaming every Tuesday night at 7:30.
Another edition of On the Right Side here, and you can catch us weekly, Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.
And welcome to Liberty's Cage, where we rip the veil off America's broken justice system. Prisons that crush spirits and a society that shuns people who have paid their price.
Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Kevin Downey Jr. Podcast. Be free, stay free.
Welcome to Suffocating in Suburbia with me, your host, Stevie GB.
Welcome back to Liberty's Cage. I'm your host, Sarah McAbee, joined by my co-host, Shane Jenkins, and our infamous guest, Mr. Joe Biggs. Joe, take us back to January 6th, because what they read in the media, I don't think that's really the truth, is it?
Nah, they're a den of lies. We're a drinking club, and we transformed when President Trump ran, when we saw people getting attacked in the streets for wearing MAGA hats, sitting at restaurants with their kids and wives and being assaulted by masked hood rats and thugs. We decided to kind of, a large portion of the group decided to show up to these events and kind of provide security and let people know that it's okay to, support a candidate and to vote a certain way, and you shouldn't be scared, which is what the Democrats are trying to do. They were using these guys with their brown shirts to intimidate people from voting for Trump. So we decided to step up. So that led to a whole bunch of things. So January 6th, here we are years down the road. Once again, we were there to provide security for multiple different groups that were going to be there, and also just be kind of on the lookout for Antifa. We met at 10 a.m. in the morning at the Washington Monument, which is the long obelisk on the backside of the White House. It's 2 miles from the Capitol. We decided to go out and patrol looking for Antifa to make sure that they weren't lurking around or anything like that. So we marched down the mall. We go to the Capitol where there's a few events where we go to check on them. We do a photo shoot in the front of the Capitol. That's the infamous picture you see of me in the front going like that. And it's always shown in fucking TV all the time, everywhere. So, I'm sitting there, we do that photo, and then we go back and we take like a 45-minute break. We meet with all these people out here that are doing different protests and just kind of talking and mingling with the crowd, and everybody's happy to see us because they know they feel safe now knowing that we're going to be there. We end up leaving to go towards the food trucks there in front of the federal courthouse there in D.C. where we had our unjust trial. And as we're sitting there, one of the guys has a radio playing, and we can hear President Trump's speech at the ellipse coming to an end, and he calls for everybody to go to the Capitol. So we're like, whoa, okay. So we're sitting there, we're eating our food, and all of a sudden we see a sea of people coming down about 200 yards away, because we're away from the mall now, towards the federal courthouse. So we're looking back that way, and we see all these people coming. So we're like, hey, we've got a little bit of time before we're supposed to go back to an Airbnb where we're going to have the lead singer of the Misfits come play a private show for us. So we decided to head over towards the Peace Circle. I have the megaphone. I'm in the front of the crowd. We're doing Proud Boy chants, F Antifa, stuff like that. We will take the same chants that they do and use the same ones that they use and kind of make it funny. And that's what we did. We got up to the ellipse and we're sitting there doing our stuff. We're about 100 yards, maybe 75 yards from the first fence where there's an initial breach at. We all know that that's, Ray Epps and his little crew of people. There was another guy that was behind me with a megaphone. He was dressed all in black and had a black megaphone, so we called him Black Megaphone Guy. And he was telling everybody how to dismantle the fences, for the women to get away from the front, for the military-aged men to get towards the front. And soon thereafter, I guess the fences go down. We kind of get caught in the middle because everybody's coming from the ellipse and they're just pushing forward. So I didn't even know the fences were down. I just knew people were pushing forward because it was like a current in the ocean. We had no control. At one point in time, my co-defendant, Ethan Ordine, puts his hand up and he's saying, stop, halt, halt, halt. but there was just so many people pushing that it was hard to do. It wasn't until we got towards the fence that I noticed that they were over and were stepping over and trying not to fall because everybody's pushing us. So we're coming up the sidewalk and we get to this next fence, and I come up to it, put my hands on, I'm looking around, I'm like, all right. And I see everybody, they start to come around. And what my theory is that Trump had said, I believe that he had said that he might go up there and speak or something. So when everybody goes up that sidewalk, they end up seeing the stage there, not knowing that that's the stage that was going to be set up for the inauguration on January 20th. They actually start that process on January 6th. So all these little security measures that were there that day are not normally there. They're not part of Capitol security. They're just there as little buffers for January 20th. But they try to use these fences as, they were tearing down, Capitol property, and they went through all these breaches to get there. And I'm like, if this would have happened on any other day, that wouldn't have been there. Those are there for that one specific event. And it wasn't the certification of the election or any of that crap. It was for something that was a couple weeks away. So, we're all sitting there.
I don't know if Joe, do you recall that there was supposed to be a second slate of speakers at the Capitol. Actually, Mike Pompeo was like the headliner, and there was like 3 or 4 others.
Yeah, there was people on the other side.
Yeah.
Like when we initially went over there and took pictures and we met with the crowd, that was that area, I believe, that you're speaking of.
Yeah.
But this was back on the other side, where the side of the Washington Monument. So we're sitting there, and the fence goes down over here to my right, and come to find out that's where Ray Epps is at. It goes out right in front of him. Surprise, surprise. And it goes down like domino. Well, in the trial, we'll get to that more later, but they glitch the video and then show it go down in front of me and say that I'm the one that initiated it. And those are the kind of dirty tricks that they played. Well, at this point in time, the fence is just down and everybody's pushing up. They want to get closer to the stage because they believe that Trump is going to come up there and speak. So everybody gets calm, and they're just waving flags and stuff like that. Well, for some reason, the chief of police at the time decided to come out there. He does this. Guys pop up with guns and start shooting in the crowd, and they escalate the situation. Police are supposed to de-escalate the situation. They decided they wanted all-out war. I saw a giant 6'3", 250-pound guy in riot gear punch a woman in the face in front of a group of young men. Those men obviously reacted to that and ran over and jumped in that guy's face, and that started a skirmish. One of the police officers that shot into the crowd got a guy right to the cheek. He starts bleeding out everywhere. That angers everybody, and that's when you see the clashes happen. It wasn't started by the people. They like to go, well, these breaches happen. Okay, the breaches happen. These are bike racks. These aren't permanent things there. They didn't use CMT or TNT to, det and break, blow up a wall or anything like that. These were bike racks that easily get knocked over at concerts all the time. There's nothing, there was no, military strategicness that happened that day. It was just, a group of bad actors in the crowd who I believe were a part of a DOD group called the Activity or TFO, Task Force Orange. They operate internally in the U.S., one of the only secret, military groups that can. But yeah, it was a setup through and through, and they initiated the violence that day, and they wanted to play the victim after that. When they pissed off the crowd and then they got their asses whipped, they wanted to play They wanted to play the victim, and it was just ridiculous. I saw the police push the guy off the wall when he was climbing up. I saw the 2 cops look at each other and get scared because they thought they probably killed him. They took off. So then I ran over, helped get a bike rack, put it sideways so they could use it as a stretcher, and a bunch of people cleared the way so the EMTs could come in and carry that guy out of there. I literally did nothing bad that day. I walked into an open door. I walked up to an officer. He had his arms crossed. He was not concerned about me. Asked me what I wanted to do. Told him I needed to take a leak. He showed me where the bathroom was. I lifted the seat. I didn't pee on the toilet. I washed my hands. I shut the door back and left everything just how a grown man should. And I walked out and left, and then realized I didn't have one of my friends with me. So I went back in to find a friend, peeked in a few rooms. One of them happened to be the upper level of the Senate chamber. There was nobody in there. There was no people hiding or anything like that. It was just an empty room. I looked in and I go, oh, crazy. Oh, well, okay, he's not here. And I walk around and left. And then I go back outside and then eventually find my friend that I was looking for. I think I spent upwards of 5 minutes inside the Capitol, like 3 minutes at one point and 2 minutes another point.
And that cost you, or could have cost you, 17 years of your life?
Well, yeah. So the judge sentenced me to 17 years. They wanted to give me 34 years. As soon as the judge said 17 years, the whole prosecution and FBI jumped up screaming, "We wanted 34." You know, so yeah, you know, me walking through an open door and being polite and pretty much ruined my life.
Using the bathroom could have cost you 17 years, and you're still a felon.
Yeah, only got commuted. No pardon here yet. Still waiting on that one, Trump.
Do you think he's? I mean, do you believe he's going to get around to pardoning you?
I don't know. I don't think it's so much him. I think it's the people around him sometimes. You know, it's hard to be at that kind of position and have your finger on, every pulse there is in every situation. And obviously there are situations that deal with national security that have much more, importance in a sense. But, the fact that he did say it was a setup that day, Nancy Pelosi even said that it was a setup. And we've proven that the election was stolen and everybody was justified in being there that day. You'd think that they would want to take care of the people that actually went and stood up for our government, the actual people who stood up for quote unquote democracy, even though we're a constitutional republic. You'd think they'd want to take care of those people who actually were willing to sacrifice everything for the very fabric of what this nation stands for. Just a thought.
Why do you think you only got commuted and not pardoned?
I think someone probably put something into his ear and said, don't do that for these people. It might look bad politically, which I don't understand because it's your last term. You already don't care what the media says. So why does it matter? I mean, he sent National Guard into LA and everybody flipped out. That would have been a great time to throw those pardons in there because they were so upset about the illegal aliens and the MS-13 being, mistreated. And, in their words. So, there's so many situations that Trump pisses off the left that they could just slide those pardons in and no one would even know. But the sad thing is I get interviewed by media all the time and they all think that I'm pardoned already. They have no idea. They're actually quite shocked that I was commuted and not pardoned. So most people already think that we're pardoned. So to me, there's someone telling them not to do it. And hopefully that doesn't last too long. If the midterms come and go, and nothing happens, I will have at that officially point been blackpilled and have no hope in this administration to help us. Because this is the only other thing that they could use as, for politics for the midterms or whatever. Okay, whatever, I'll play that game. But if that comes and goes and they don't help us, I don't think there's anything that'll happen.
You hear that, President Trump? We need you to pardon the commuted Jan Sixers and give them their lives back so this man can get his VA benefits so he can not be a felon anymore. I don't even care about being a felon. I just want my military rights back. Like, I don't understand how, something could be taken from me from my past that I honorably did because of something in the future that I was set up for. I don't know how walking around and do an open door equates to me losing my ability to go be seen at the VA, to get my retirement, to things like that. I mean, I used, as a Purple Heart recipient, my kid can get free college. She can't now. She was able to be seen at the VA for the rest of her life. Can't now. So neither of us have insurance at the moment right now. And then I was medically retired. So I was 100% and I was getting paid. Not getting that now. And they're saying I owe money back. So, it's not so much the felon part. I don't care about that. To me, that's, whatever, cool street cred, whatever. My label right now at Interpol is I am a gang leader and domestic terrorist. So that always sounds neat in conversation, But I want what I fought for and what I did, my duty for, and that's my military benefits. Everything else I don't care about. Well, we'll be back with more on Liberty's Cage with Joe Biggs and Sarah McAbee. I'm Shane Jenkins. We'll be right back after this.
The America First Ultra MAGA Store. For all your MAGA needs. We sell t-shirts, tumblers, flags, hats, sneakers, bumper stickers, and a whole lot more. The most patriotic America First retail store. The America First Ultra MAGA Store.
Good morning. It's me, Joe the Box, wearing my Border 911 hat signed by Tom Holman, Rodney Scott, and Sarah Carter. The country has had enough The American Horror Story is over. Board of 911. Tom Holman is coming through. My brother's son, my friends' children. We're done with it. 100,000 lost lives every single year. God bless you, Tom.
Are you a musician, comedian, actor, filmmaker, or artist who stands for traditional American values? Do you believe in the preservation of our nation, our culture, and our freedoms? If you share our passion for America and want to use your talents to make a difference, we want to hear from you. Our mission is clear. Through the arts, we uphold the principles of freedom, faith, family, and the American spirit. It's time to step up to the mic and make your voices heard. So contact us at AmericanConservativeArtists.com.
Ray Rubino here at the America First Warehouse. I'm inviting you to the live taping of the Not So Newlywed Show. Just click on the QR code right above my shoulder and you can get tickets. Live taping of the Not So Newlywed Show. Drinks, snacks, it's a great time. We'll see you there October 18th.
America First Warehouse was really the most patriotic venue that you can ever imagine. We wanted to build something for people to be able to come to and feel so comfortable and so relaxed because there is nothing out there like it. We give an opportunity for people to really feel good about themselves and about this great country.
Welcome back to Liberty's Cage. I'm Shane Jenkins with my co-host Sarah Maccabee and our esteemed colleague and friend, brother Jay Sixer and fellow Proud Boy Joe Biggs. Uhuru. Good to have you here, man. So if you can, you kind of covered your Jan 6. If you want to get into the trial and all that, those shenanigans, I believe you guys had one of the most egregious miscarriages of justice in the D.C. courts that I witnessed personally. So if you want to get into that, I'd love to hear about it.
I mean, yeah, the U.S. Marshals said it was the most messed up thing they've ever seen. Like, I think some guys left the Marshals because of that. They were disgusted by what had happened. It was the longest jury selection in D.C. history. It was the longest trial in D.C. history. It was the most discovery ever in any trial in the history of the United States. I mean, we were there for 6 months, a trial for 6 months. You know, that was insane. Day in and day out, just grinding it out, you know, having your whole life thrown in front of the world on a day-to-day basis. You know, it was insane.
What time did they get y'all up in the morning? You got to get up at like 4 in the morning.
Yeah, like 4:30. And, you got to, they got to put like a periscope up your ass. They got to look at you, and then feed you some horrible breakfast and then put you in a holding cell at the bottom of the jail until the marshals show up. And then they got to like look at you again. And then you're shackled from your ankles to your waist, to your arms. And you got to do the prison shuffle all the way out to the van. And then we had to make a long trip from Alexandria to the DC courthouse every single day, back and forth. And then they put us down in the dungeon under there. Like I said, in trial, everything comes out, like all the weird gay stuff that Enrique's done, that all came out in trial.
It's in the transcripts.
Yeah, it's like, wow. Like, when he told me that he blew a tranny, I thought he was talking about a vehicle. But then I realized he owns a Tesla and they don't have trannies. So now I kind of I think I know what he's talking about.
You heard it here first on Liberty's Cage.
Yeah, that's what you get, Enrique. So now it was fun though. Like, look, in the trial, after day one, I knew we were getting screwed. So what we did, and the guys would get depressed, and I'm a jokester, so I would try to keep everybody upbeat every day. And so I was creating different games. Like, we were the oranges they would give us in our little, horrible sack lunches. I was creating like bowling games. We would they would leave our arms unshackled, but keep our ankles shackled in the cell down there in the dungeon. So they had these huge, long metal benches that are real slick. So we were doing these races where we would run as fast as we could with our legs shackled, and then we'd jump on the bench and slide to see who could go the furthest. And we were marking it. And and then when Enrique would fall asleep, I would toilet paper him like a mummy, and the marshals would come by and like be laughing at him and take pictures and stuff, And then it's like a big giant cell that's like wide open. So I'd sit there and just drop my pants, and I'd be like, "All right, you guys that have cameras all over the place." I'd tell the guys to turn around, and I just have my ass hanging out while I'm taking a piss, and my pants all the way down around my ankles. I'm like, whoever's doing security that day watching that, I hope they have PTSD. I'm like, you're going to put me through hell, I'm going to put you through visual hell. When you come home and you lay down and your wife's like, how was your day? I was like, he did it again. He did it again, babe. He pulled his pants down. I had to stare at him the whole time.
I do remember I was down there in the holding cell as well, going through trial whenever mine was only like a week. But man, I cannot imagine. I got to see you guys down there a few times going to trial, but I just can't. It's a nightmare. It's a very long day from like 3 or 4 a.m. until like 8 o'clock at night. Then you got to get up the next day and do it again 5 days a week. I can only imagine for 6 months.
It was intense, and just the things that you hear in trial, like they have a 97% conviction rate, and you understand why, because they don't allow the cameras in there. If our trial would have been videotaped, if it would have been on court TV in the news every day, people would have been outraged because there was nothing there. They came up with nothing. They said that by the end of the trial, you're going to see a clear-cut plan by the Proud Boys, the leaders over here at this table, to stop the certification of the election and seditiously conspire to overthrow the government. 6 months later, we get to the closing arguments. They're like, all right, we didn't see a plan. But there was one time we saw Joe Biggs and Ethan Lordine fist bump each other. And at that time, that's when the conspiracy was agreed upon. And it was like we had this telekinetic like force that exploded when the two fists touched that shot out mind waves throughout everybody there January 6th, and we all agreed to stop the certification of the election. They said that the conspiracy didn't even have to be spoken. It just had to be a nod or a wink or a fist bump to prove that there was a conspiracy. And it's just like you hear this stuff and you're like, this can't be real. Like this, like I got to be like in Venezuela or some shit right now, right? Like I'm in Prague or something. I'm in some ghetto ass country. I'm in the Congo going through trial. No, I was in the freaking USA, and they're sitting there saying this stuff. And it's just like, you sit there and it's like, all right, my life's over, so I'm just going to have fun. So me and Dominic would be drawing pictures of like the prosecutors. I'd be passing notes going, oh my God, this judge is a retard. This guy doesn't even know what justice is, because it was just stupid. It was a clown show. It was a kangaroo court. That judge is corrupt. The prosecutors are corrupt, evil people. The FBI plotted against us nonstop. They conspired. They committed perjury.
Yeah.
They conspired to commit perjury. The one guy that flipped on us, Jerry Bertino, they lied and said that they only met with him 3 times. We come to find out now that Bertino's come forward and admitted that he lied and was coerced by the FBI. There were 15 meetings. That in itself is a mistrial. There were so many mistrials that happened during our trial, but the judge would just laugh it off. There were, 50 Brady violations. We could never get stuff from the government. They would never give it to us. Not once did I ever get to look at my own discovery. Here I am in the largest trial ever, and I don't even get a chance to defend myself. So that's another reason why I didn't even take the stand, because I couldn't even really defend myself. I didn't have an opportunity to look at everything that they were going to have from the angles that they could have had to come up with whatever theories or things that they would do and try to put and take out of context. So I just decided to just sit there and, suck it up.
Well, so to kind of move forward from here, obviously you guys lost at trial. Y'all were sentenced to some of the largest sentence. Enrique was the largest sentence out of everybody, probably because he was black and gay. But
yeah, definitely.
But leading to that, and I just see this contrast. I look at your service and your multiple Purple Hearts and your tours in combat, and it breaks my heart to see that we can joke about it was you guys made the most of a dark situation in the court, but this is in the capital of the heart of this nation and legitimately a show trial. And then so I see, and you're still not clear of it. You're still not pardoned. You were only commuted. You're not getting your BA benefits, and then now, I look on social media the other day, and I could tell you posted some stuff, and you were having a hard time. And so, I just wanted to kind of hear about that, and then after that, we'll get into how people can help you moving forward. But I just want people to understand that this fight is not over for this country. It's not over for the Jan Sixers, and there's still some stuff that we're trying to deal with, whether it's mentally, emotionally, physically, whether it's benefits, whatever it is. So, I just kind of wanted to hear your heart on what was going on with you the other day, man.
Well, I haven't had something like that happen in a long time. The last time I felt that bad, I actually put an AR-15 in my mouth, pulled the trigger, and it didn't go off. I just gotten back from Afghanistan, and I was hurt, and there was still a lot of my guys over there. So a big thing in the military is you get like survivor's guilt. You're upset you're not there. And I was out at a bar one night, and I just started breaking down, and I just took off and left. And I just felt guilty for being there. I didn't even take like more than 2 sips. I just felt bad that they're over there fighting and dying. And I'm just sitting here, and I just felt horrible. And I jumped in my car, and I started driving, and my anxiety just overtook me. It's like a demon, possessed me. And I started punching the steering wheel as hard as I could, and airbag goes off and hits me, and I freaking get back to the house and get the gun and go off to kill myself. And the thing misfires, and I was just so overwhelmed with all these emotions and stuff. Well, the other day, I'd done like 6 interviews in a row talking about a bunch of bad stuff, and it just kind of just consumed me. And I just started dwelling on it, and I started feeling that like I was just possessed. It wasn't even me. Like my body was tingling, and I just had no control over myself, And it was just a dark day. It was horrible. Like I ran off and went out to the ocean and, laid out there and in the surf and stuff, and just was just losing my mind, and, after years of combat and then 2 years in solitary confinement, 4 years in prison, I've had someone try to kill me, like a lot of different stuff that happened in there. I had to crack a dude's head open. There's blood everywhere, there's things that happen in prison that you just don't want to talk about. And all these emotions were flooding. So yeah, it's not easy, and you got to have good, solid people around you that can support you and help you out. It's not over by a long run. And I'm sure I'll have other days sometimes where I'm just going to feel like crap, but you still got to push forward, and you got to focus on the things that matter most. I got a little girl. I'm not going to leave her without a father because, my fucking, I'm in my feelings or something like that. So, I got to push that stuff aside and be a man and step up and do my job, even though I feel like crap. So, that's what we got to do.
Well, and I'm not saying this because you can call me if you ever need me, bro.
Yeah.
And so that being said, I want to hear like where people can find you, how they can help you, man. What they can.
Well, you can find me on X at Real Rambo Biggs, but I'm not allowed on there till Monday because I'm in the naughty jail right now because I told some hippie I was going to skull drag him. Because he was just being complete and totally retarded about something Kyle Seraphin, my homie, said. So I went off on that guy. Do I?
See you Monday on X.
Yeah. So you'll see me again on there. That's why there's been like no action on there since, I don't know. It feels like I've been off of it for a year now, but it's been like 4 days or something already. That's hard for me, man. And then I have a Gibson Go. I think it's like Gibson Go, whatever, / Joe Biggs. And it'll say, let me see. I got it pulled up right here. Stand with Joe Biggs, Defender of Truth. Pete Santilli, he put it up for me. Because if I set up a Gibson Go, the government comes in and shuts it down. I can't do it. I don't have any ability to do that stuff on my own. So I have to constantly rely on other people. And like I said, I've always been someone who likes to do things themselves. I don't like having to depend on people. So this is a learning experience for me to submit and allow other people to help me. And I don't know if it's an ego thing or something, but I've always just been, I've been on my own pretty much since I was 16, so it's weird having other people having to do stuff for me. I'm used to doing shit myself. So that's another thing we have to do sometimes in life is, submit and, ask for help, and we can't let our egos get the best of us or we get left behind. So.
Well, you guys heard it there. Find him on X, go to his Gibson Go, help him out. And hopefully we'll see you on InfoWars regularly soon. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, it's looking like that could be a thing here soon. So
on InfoWars, so just saying.
And I used to be the host there, and then when I left, Owen took over, and now that he's gone, I could be coming back more, so we'll see what happens. We're working on that. Yeah, and if you want to find out more stuff, Google me. But don't believe anything that Wikipedia says, because they're a bunch of lying assholes.
Can we believe what Enrique says, though? That's the question.
No. See, I have receipts for the things about Enrique, but he just likes to make things up. I'm going to find out. I'm going to watch the episode. I'm going to find out what he says. He's about to, I'm probably going to, you know what? I'm going to sneak. I'm going to go to Vegas. I wasn't going to go to Vegas. I'm going to show up, and I'm going to, yeah, I'll make a video of him and Indian burn his ass.
Well, that's awesome. Joe, it's an honor to stand by you, and that's why we started Stand in the Gap, to not only help people like you, but other former January 6 defendants that are still fighting for their lives. So thank you for joining us on Liberty's Cage, where we break through the bars of censorship and dive headfirst into the fight for truth and freedom. Our conversation with Joe Biggs has reminded us that the battle for liberty is never easy. It's raw, it's real, and it demands courage. His story challenges us to question the narratives that we're fed and to stand firm in defending our rights. Keep seeking the truth, keep fighting the good fight, and never let the cage of conformity hold you back. Until next time, stay free, stay fierce, and we'll see you back here on Liberty's Cage. God bless.
God bless you.